Hello?
And how pleasant it is for all of us to dwell together.
Hello?
Hine ma tovu manayim, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tovu manayim, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov, shevet achim gam yachad. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Clearly, we should promise jelly donuts after every service, but to those of you who are here with us in person, I am delighted to see you. Shabbat Shalom. Welcome to everyone. Welcome to those of you on Zoom. I see some of you on Zoom for wonderful reasons. I see some are gathered together for reasons of memorial and family connection. But whatever your reason for being here, and whatever your method of being here, thank you all for being together as we come together this wonderful Shabbat. I'm Rabbi Michael Feshbach. I'm delighted to be here with our master of music, Gilchrist Sprauv. And Gilchrist, I understand that you just agreed to help out with an upcoming bar mitzvah, and the family claims they're relatives of yours. So, Watlington? Okay. Well, we'll sort that out when we're together with them, but we are looking forward to that very much. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Thank you as well to Rigo Bell-Lorad, who is streaming, but Chase is in the apprentice chair tonight. Chase will be streaming for us at our 6 p.m. December 24th service. And to Lyra and Ariel Rosenthal, who are helping with tonight's service, thank you for being here as well. We continue with the lighting of Shabbat candles. Just two. We're not going crazy like we did last week with all the menorah lighting. Just two candles. The introduction on page 121, the bracha on page 120. Candles will be lit this night by our returning luminary.
Sorry, I'm getting lower. I just wanted to see who is here.
As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us, as their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light. So may we, in our own day, be among those who kindle light. O source of light and truth, creator of the eternal law of goodness, help us to find knowledge by which to live. Lead us to take the words we shall speak into our hearts and our lives. Bless all who enter the sanctuary in need, all who bring the offerings of their hearts. May our worship lead us to acts of kindness, peace, and love.
Go ahead and light. Light the candle. Thanks. Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu להדליק של Shabbat. Amen. Thank you, Alan. Welcome back. Pages 124 through 125, a selection of one of those readings in personal prayer. Kabbalat Shabbat, the Psalms and Songs with which we welcome Shabbat. Pages 130 and 131 for Psalm 95 and Psalm 96. Just the opening of each psalm, the words in Hebrew and then in English. L'chunu ranana l'Adonai, come let us sing joyously to Adonai. Shiru l'Adonai shir chadash, sing unto God a new song. Page 130, jumping to 131, and then back to 130. Thank you. And jumping to Psalm 99, from the middle of the Psalm, verse 9. It is the last paragraph in Hebrew on page 135. The English that we are about to sing means, exalt Adonai our God, and bow toward God's holy hill, for Adonai our God is holy. Romamu Adonai Eloheinu.
רוממו אדוני אלוהינו והשתחוו להר קודשו. רוממו אדוני אלוהינו והשתחוו להר קודשו. כי קדוש אדוני אלוהינו רוממו. Adonai Eloheinu Romamu, Romamu Adonai
and Lachadodi, that liturgical composition from 16th century Sfat, which energized, which enlivened, which personalized the Friday night service so much. Pages 138 and 139, the Argentinian setting, stanzas 1, 2, 5, and 9.
לקראת כלה, לה 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 פני שבת, פני שבת נקבלה, לחפור ושמאל, בדיבור אחד, ישמיענו אל המיוחד, אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד, לשם ולתפארת ולתהילה. לה לה לה, לה 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 לך אדוני, לה 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 לקראת כלה, לה 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 פני שבת, פני שבת נקבלה, לקראת שבת לכבודך, כי מקור הברכה, מראש מקדם נסוכה, סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה. לה לה לה, לה 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 לך אדוני, לה 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 לקראת כלה, לה 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 פני שבת, פני שבת נקבלה.
Top of page 139.
התעוררי, התעוררי, כי בא אורך קומי אורי, 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 שיר זמרי, כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה. לה לה לה, לה 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 לך אדוני, לה 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 לקראת כלה, לה 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 פני שבת, פני שבת נקבלה. בואי שלום, עטרת בעלה, גם בשמחה ובצהלה, תוך אמוני עם סגולה. בואי חלה, בואי חלה, לה לה לה, לה 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 לך אדוני, לה 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 לקראת כלה,
in English from the bottom of page 140. Some of you know this in Hebrew. In some settings, this is an Israeli folk dance. Dikatamar, yifrach, yifrach. But the last paragraph, as it appears on page 140 together, the righteous bloom like a date palm. They thrive like a cedar in Lebanon, planted in the house of Adonai. They flourish in the courts of our God. In old age, they still produce fruit. They are full of sap and freshness, attesting that Adonai is upright, my rock, in whom there is no wrong. We continue with Chatzi Kaddish, page 144. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei rabba, v'alma tivrach chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon uvyomechon, uv'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, bagala bagala, uvizman kariv, v'imeru, amen. Yehi shmei rabba mevorach, le'olam lo me'almaya, yitbarach, yitbarach, v'yishtabach, v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitale v'yitalal, shmei dekudesha prichu, leila min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, Damiran be'alma ve'emeru. Amen. Entrances to holiness are everywhere. The possibility of ascent is all the time, even at unlikely times and through unlikely places. There is no place on earth without the presence. Page 146. We rise for Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach, Baruch Adonai HaMevorach, Leolam Va'ed. 149 together. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, from whom the evening flows. Your wisdom sets the way on which time and season glide. Your breath guides the sail of the stars, creator of the tide of time and light. You guide the current of day into night as heaven spans to infinity. You set its course for eternity. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, from whom the evening flows. Baruch atah Adonai, ha-ma'ariv, aravim. Page 150 together, loudly together. Everlasting love, you offered your people Israel. With your love from us. Praise to you, Adonai, who loves your people Israel. Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Baruch Shem Yevod Malchuto.
Please be seated.
Ve'ahavta
Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'odecha ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shiratam levanecha v'dibarta bam b'shivtecha v'beitecha uvlechtecha v'derech uv'shukbecha uv'kumecha uv'shartam leot al yadecha והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך,
Stay up there. Keep. למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ
מצרים, אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
Don't go too far. Page 157, standing on the parted shores of history. We still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands, marching together.
מי כמוך אלוהים אדוני, מי כמוך נהדר בקודש. נור תהילות אוסף אלה, נור תהילות אוסף אלה. מלכותך ראו בניך, אורכי הים, זנינו אמרו.
Adonai Imloch, Adonai Imloch, Leolam ונאמר כיפד אדוני את יעקב, וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו, ברוך אתה אדוני, גאל ישראל. Page 161. Together on the top, let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Adonai, help us to walk with good companions, to live with hope in our hearts and eternity in our thoughts, that we may lie down in peace and rise up waiting to do your will. Baruch ata Adonai, hapores sukat shalom aleinu, ve'al kol amo Yisrael, ve'al Yerushalayim. 163, then back to 162 for Vishamru. We are a people in whom the past endures, in whom the present is inconceivable without moments gone by. The Exodus lasted a moment enduring forever. What happened once upon a time happens all the time. Whatever part of Vishamru you
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. שמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל, בני ישראל, אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, ושמרו בני ישראל את ושמעו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורות הברית עולם.
What page is that? What page? The Amidah, the Tefillah. Beginning with the introduction, page 164, we rise and we face the ark.
Adonai sefatai tiftoch ufi agi tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu ve'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Legonei Hakol, Lezocher Chasdei Avot ve'imahot, Umevi ge'ula lifnei b'neihem, Lema'an shemo be'ahava, Melech Ozer u'Moshiach u'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham ve'ezrat Sarah. Atah gibor le'olam Adonai, Mechaye hakol atah, Rav le'Moshiach.
Mashiv haruach u'morid ha'gashem.
Mechakel chaim bechesed, Mechaye hakol berachamim rabim, Somech noflim verofech holim, Umatir asurim, Umechayem emunato, Lishenei afar, Michamocha ba'al gerurot, Umidomela, Melech memit umechayeh, Umatzliach Yeshua, V'ne'emanata lechachayot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayeha.
Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, kadoshim b'chol yom yahalalu chasela. Baruch atah Adonai ha'el ha'kadosh. We continue in personal prayer. When you are ready, you may be seated. Oseh Shalom, the bottom of page 108.
Oseh shalom bimroma, uyaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, Yaseh shalom. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, Yaseh shalom. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, Yaseh shalom. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, Yaseh shalom. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael.
Mishaberach Avotenu Avraham Yitzhak v'Yaakov v'imotenu Sarah Rivka Rachel v'Leah Yivarech v'yirapeh et hacholim ha'eleh. O God, who blessed our ancestors Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebekah, Rachel, and Leah, send your blessing and your healing, your comfort and your hope to all those whose names appear before us in the service sheet. And in addition to those names, or even including them if you would like, we add the following: those of our family, those of our friends, those of our loved ones, our neighbors, those we care about who are ill and in need of our attention. Betsy Kingery, Aparna Nagpal, Rachel Korazim. Any others in the congregation? Thank you. Anyone else on Zoom for the prayer for healing?
Nina Zim,
Sue Goldman,
Ray McAndrew, Alan Kossoff, Cyril Eck.
So we have solved from Zoom, but not from the street. Any other names on Zoom for the prayer for healing? Baruch atah Adonai rofeh cholim. We praise you, O God, who helps us heal, who brings us comfort.
Hello.
Misheberach avotenu makor habracha leimotenu. May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Misheberach imotenu makor habracha lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
We are right in the middle, a climactic moment in what O. Henry called the greatest short story ever written, the Saga of Joseph. As of last week, Joseph had been thrown into a pit, then sold to the Ishmaelites, who sold him to the Midianites, who brought him down to Egypt, where he became the chief of Potiphar's household. and then was the early subject of a reverse Me Too accusation by Mrs. Potiphar, at which point he was thrown into jail. He met the butler, he met the cupbearer, he interpreted their dreams, and eventually rose to become the prime minister of Egypt. It is there that he married, that he changed his name. I don't know where Michael is or what's going on outside, but we have some enthusiastic revelers outside. It is there that he changed his name. He changed his clothing. He talked like an Egyptian. He even walked like an Egyptian. Old cultural reference for those who may remember that. But he stored up the surplus for the lean years, and so when there was hunger throughout the ancient Middle East, the ancient Near East, people came to Egypt, including his siblings. They, of course, did not recognize him, and he played them, and he planted in his youngest brother Benjamin's bag a goblet from his household. Those of you who know the musical Andrew Weber's Joseph and the American and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat, one of you has stolen my precious silver cup. And then, at the end of last week's portion, and as this portion begins, Vayigash Elav Yehuda, and Judah, rather than letting another brother take the blame, Judah steps forward. Now, before we go into the sentence, the three words of that sentence, Vayigash Elav Yehuda, the opening of this week's portion, before we go in, what's going on?
Is that amplified? It sounds amplified.
What?
It sounds amplified.
Sounds like what?
It sounds like someone is on a mic.
Okay. So we're picking up enthusiasm from downtown. I'll try to make this brief. Before we go into that three-word sentence, I am reminded of another biblical character. Joseph's strength may have come partly from his looks, but this character, his strength came from his locks. As in, I don't mean smoked salmon. In the Washington area, there is a chain of salons called Who Cut Your Hair? I have always been interested in that name because it always struck me that sentence, that question, you could emphasize any different word in that sentence and get a different meaning from it. Who cut your hair? Who cut your hair? Who cut your hair? Who cut your hair? All different meanings, different nuances from that single sentence. And so the opening three words, Vayigash Elav Yehuda, depending on which word you emphasize, tomorrow morning we will go into this, you get vastly different sense of this story. And Judah approached unto him. For now it is the middle word, Vayigash Elav Yehuda. Elav is a preposition. You know this from the Israeli National Airline, which is named for two prepositions, right? El, al. El means to, al means above. That's all it means, el, al. To, over. Interesting name for an airline. Some people say it stands for every landing always late, but that's a different era. You know that El Al was unpredictable during the days of terrorism. It never left at its scheduled time to subvert terrorist attacks. It either left early or it left late. It was never on time. But the word Elav, and Judah approached unto him. Who's the him? The plain sense of the word means that it's Joseph. He comes, Judah approaches his brother Joseph, and that's the interpretation I will share now. But there are, of course, those that say, since Judah had been complicit in some bad stuff earlier in his life, it could be Vayigash Elav Yehudah means instead, Judah approached unto himself. He found his true self in finally defending his family and finally standing up for one of his brothers, not knowing. The big reveal is in about 10 verses. Ani Yosef Achichem, I am Joseph, your brother. And they don't believe him. He doesn't look like Joseph. He doesn't sound like Joseph. But for now, he thinks that he's talking to a stranger. And I want to share with you this reading from the Maggid Rabbi Velvola. Vayigash Elav Yehudah, and Judah approached him. It seems that Judah is not bringing up any new logical reason why Joseph should free Benjamin. What then was the purpose of his repeating himself? Rather, Judah was convinced that there had been a misunderstanding. At first, Joseph had accused them of being spies. Then, when they had answered that they had come to buy grain, Joseph had replied, "That is what I had said, you are spies." Now, that was obviously not a response to what he had said. The fault had to lie with the translator who stood between them. Judah therefore believed, "Allow me to speak directly to you. And when you understand me, you will realize that an error has been made and suspicion will be removed." I don't know about you, but there are times in my life when I do not want to speak directly to somebody. Friends, there are 3 things in this life that I will not debate. And I have held this position for years, even before COVID. I will not debate with somebody whether the earth is flat. I do not think it is worth my breath or my time. And the other position does not deserve a fair hearing. I will not debate with somebody Israel's right to exist. I will not debate, connected to that, my own existence, my family, my life, my people's life. It is not up for debate. It is not up for discussion. The other side does not deserve a fair hearing. I will debate with anybody Israel's policies, many of which I am deeply critical of myself. But Israel's right to exist is off the table from my point of view. And years before COVID, I said I would not debate with somebody the validity of vaccines. The opposition to vaccines is so awesome, awfully stupid. It's so profoundly dangerous. It is so much of a problem for public health that I do not believe that the other side deserves a fair hearing. I will not debate with people about vaccines. Alachat kama v'kama, how much the more so during this time of COVID. But these words, Vayigash Elav Yehudah, and he came up to him, and Judah approached him, remind me of something I heard on NPR the other day, an interview on Fresh Air with Adam Grant. Adam Grant wrote a book recently called Think Again, and he was interviewed about talking to people in this divided and fractured time, talking with people that you deeply disagree with. He had a friend, he said, a lifelong friend, who was an anti-vaxxer. And he decided, instead of talking at or screaming at, to simply listen and ask. And he asked his friend, tell me, under what circumstances would you get the vaccine? what are the chances? And his friend said the chances were small. And Adam Grant said he was astonished that his friend did not say 0. And by asking the question, they shifted the conversation to what his friend's fears and hopes were, to what his approach was. They were able to have a conversation in which one did not see the other as ignorant and evil, and the other as a fascist imposing mandates on everybody. I'm not saying that is going to heal our broken society. This is still a dangerous, delusional decision on the part of too many people on our island to not be vaccinated. I still don't want to debate it publicly. But the message I am getting from the Torah portion this week, Vayigash Elav Yehuda, is a reminder. The message I got from Bob Dole's funeral earlier today, a reminder that our opponents are not our enemies, that even people with whom we have deep disagreements are still rational human beings, and that we have to find a bridge, even if we don't need to accommodate all views. Vayigash Elav Yehuda. If I come up and look you in the eye and see your humanity and you see mine, perhaps something can happen. And in this I am reminded. Joseph starts out in Canaan, in Israel, in the promised land. He is thrown into a pit. From the pit he is raised up, but then he is brought where? To Egypt? What does the spiritual say? Go where, Moses? Down to Egypt. And then he is thrown in jail. The long arc of descent. But with humanity, with compassion, we begin the rise to redemption and to freedom once again. Shabbat Shalom. 2 quick announcements. We are going to have an abbreviated Torah study, 45 minutes only, 10:30 a.m. our time tomorrow morning on Zoom, all on Zoom, until 11:15. I have to end at 11:15 tomorrow, so a brief study, but of this one sentence and all of its ramifications. 10:30 a.m. our time, 9:30 a.m. Eastern time tomorrow morning. Next week, services are at 7 p.m. as well. It is also, I think, I have seen that the boat parade is happening. If this is correct, then we will have much more noise coming in next week, but we will have an abbreviated service, and by 7:30, we'll, I hope, walk down together to the waterfront together next week for Shabbat services next week. December 24th is at 6 p.m., and December 31st, Chardonnay Shabbat, is at 6 p.m. Gilchrist, I didn't get an answer, but I would understand if not, but I hope you can make it on December 24th. I don't know what your other obligations are. We can talk later. But I have family members and friends who are in, some of whom are here for the first time. I have my own reasons for wanting them to really like that service, so please come. And if you can't come, send 5 friends on December 24th at 6 p.m. Shabbat Shalom. We ask, the Ark will be opened by Marilyn and Julie. Marilyn Blackhall and Julie Novak. Marilyn, welcome back to the island. And as you come to the center of the congregation and before you go to the Ark, Marilyn, any words as president, or would you like to share when we're out there side? Okay, no problem. Welcome. We continue on the bottom of page 586 as we continue with Aleinu. Please rise. Aleinu l'shabeach la'adon hakol la'tet gedula liotzer breshit shelo asanu kugoye ha'aratzot velo samanu k'mishpachot ha'adamam shelo Close the ark doors. There are stars whose radiance is visible on this earth, though they have long since ceased to exist. There are people whose light and whose warmth continue to shine for us, though they are no longer among us. These stars which shine in the dark of the night, they light the way for humankind. We remember at this time those of our congregation's beloved whose yahrzeit occurs on this Shabbat. Gussie Berner, Gladys Robles de Castro, Max Geller, Florence Goldman, Hulda Paiwansky, Leah S. Shine, Vera Sroer, Frank Steiner, Belle M. Stern, Minnie Weinberger. We observe yahrzeit of the following Chai members and those dear to our Chai members: Sarah Applebaum, Susan Beck, Reuben Block, Dooley Cohen, Esther Cohen, Morris Dreyfus, Esther Elsweig, Samuel Fisher, Mark Fitch, Michael Fleischer, Edith Freeman, Gertrude Frumkin, Emma Goldman, Ann Goldner, Frank Goldstein, Billy Green, Lisa Guberman, George Holstein, Lola Cater, Louis Cantor, Benjamin Katz, Ruth Cobart, Harry Cornell, Claire Lang, Gertrude Lawrence, Jeanette Liebson, Joseph Levine, Samuel Levine, Shirley Manda, William Menon, Sam Nyberg, Harry Pierce, Herbert Posner, Sima Ratursky, Ernest Rosen, Dorothy Roth, Dorothy Saltiel, Maurice Schmerling, Louis Schur, Becky Sherman, Dorothy Schwarten, Hannah Sickle, Rabbi Simpson, Sally Soblik, Sophia Salin, Werner Spanier, Otto Spiegel, Leon Steinberg, Jack Sussman, Barney Waldo, Robert Waldo, Gabriel Wolf, Pauline Ziegler. During this period of Shloshim, Nadine Kapstein, Eugene Feinberg, Pete Simon, May Rawson. Is there anybody else here to share a name for Kaddish, a name I have not mentioned? Anyone on Zoom?
Alex Sheila.
Robert Steverson.
Leah Weinstein.
Add with sorrowing hearts two who were laid to rest in recent days, Robert Dole, Stephen Sondheim. The memories of all of our loved ones are with us. Our griefs and sympathies are mingled. As we turn now to Kaddish Yatom, the Mourner's Kaddish, page 598, and as is the custom in most Reform synagogues, we ask that you rise as a congregation as a whole in memory and in solidarity. Page 598. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, b'alma divrach chirotei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chaye chon uv'yom echon uv'chaye dechol Beit Yisrael, b'agalah uv'izman kariv v'imru Amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah m'vorach leolam olmei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei dekudasha b'richu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbechata v'nechamata. Ta'amiran bi'alma v'yemru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya. V'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yemru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'al kol yoshvei tevel v'yemru amen. May the source of peace send peace to all of us who mourn in our community and all those who are suffering the pain of loss everywhere, in all communities, in all congregations, on all continents, in all places at this time of still ongoing loss everywhere. And together, let us say, Amen. Please remain standing for the closing Piyut Adon Olam, page 625. Gervich version, not the Hasidic Song Festival version tonight. And then we will gather together for a brief kiddush and motzi in the courtyard. We look forward to a time when we can come together close and without masks and hug and be close to one another. But in the meantime, with your cooperation and support, we treasure the closeness that we do have by coming together in any fashion at all. Adon Olam, page 625. Adon Olam, Asher Malach, B'terem kol Yitzir Nivra, Be'et Nasa v'chefta kol, Azai melech shelo nikra, ve'acharei kichlot hakol, levado yimok noram, ve'hu haya ve'hu hover, ve'hu yireh betifara, ve'hu echad ve'en sheni, v'hamshil lo להכפירה בלי ראשית בלי תכלית איתו העוז והמשרה והוא אלי וחגמני וצורכם לי בעת צרה ניסי ומנוס לי בנת כוזי בו יום נקרא This Shabbat, may we find the right way to approach, to come up to one another, and may it lead to shalom, to peace. Shabbat shalom. Kiddush and motzi in the courtyard, and Shabbat shalom, everyone.